Sheila Carter reemerged like a ghost that Los Angeles had tried to forget. As news of the tragedy involving Luna, Hayes, and the Forrester family spread like wildfire, Sheila stepped back into the spotlight, this time not as the predator, but as the penitent. Her return was not heralded by violence or chaos, but by a televised statement outside the psychiatric rehabilitation center she had quietly been treated in for over a year. With Deacon by her side, she looked into the cameras and declared, "I'm not the woman I used to be. I've sought help. I've worked through my darkness. And now I want to do the right thing. I want to help." The town didn't believe her. They remembered too well the bullets, the blood, the betrayals. Steffi had been her target more than once. Finn had nearly died because of her. Trust was not something Sheila could earn with a few tears and a new prescription. But she didn't care about public approval. Not this time. She cared about redemption. And in her mind, that meant action. Real action. The moment she heard Luna had accessed illegal firearms from a black market arms dealer still operating somewhere in Southern California, Sheila knew what she had to do. She had lived among those shadows for decades. She knew how the underground worked. And she knew how to make people disappear. When she approached Deacon, he resisted at first. He had worked hard to clean up his life, to build something real with his bar, to prove to Hope that he was more than a cautionary tale. But Sheila's resolve was absolute. You want to protect your daughter from ever facing something like this again? Then help me end it. Help me stop this at the source. Deacon, torn between his instincts and his history with her, eventually agreed. Together, they traced the network. Sheila had contacts who owed her favors. She tapped into whispers. Names, drop points, caches. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The supplier Luna had allegedly used was someone known only as Griff, a former mercenary turned dealer, operating under the radar from a private compound north of Malibu. Sheila and Deacon didn't go to the police. They knew red tape and jurisdiction would slow everything down. Sheila wasn't after arrests, she wanted elimination. She believed the only way to protect what was left of her son's family was to erase the threat completely. Meanwhile, Steffi was spiraling. Hayes's death had gutted her. Her grief turned into rage, into obsession. She spent her nights replaying the scene in her head, haunted by the sound of the shot, the feel of her son's blood. And now Sheila, Sheila of all people, was back, claiming to be some kind of savior. She exploded when she found out about Sheila's plan. She wants to help? She thinks murder is redemption? She's still a psychopath. Ridge stood by his daughter, fuming. Brooke was more cautious. If she really is going after the man who gave Luna that gun, maybe we should let her. The town fractured. Some saw Sheila's actions as a twisted form of justice. Others feared it was just another setup for a bloodbath. The media covered it relentlessly, every headline more sensational than the last. Sheila Carter, vigilante or villain? From killer to protector? Steffi wanted nothing to do with it. She told Finn, still recovering from the physical and emotional toll of Hayes's death, that if Sheila showed up at their home, she'd have her arrested on sight. But even he, haunted by the memory of his mother saving his life once before, hesitated. If she can stop this guy from selling another weapon to another Luna, shouldn't we let her try? That question lingered in the air as Sheila and Deacon tracked Griff to a secure facility guarded by ex-military types. They needed a plan. Deacon wanted to bring in someone on the inside, a corrupt security officer he once did time with. Sheila disagreed. No more risks. No more loose ends. We go in, we finish it, and we walk away. They staged the hit under the cover of darkness. Dressed in black, faces covered, weapons silenced. The compound was a fortress, but Sheila's information was precise. They slipped past cameras, disabled alarms, reached Griff's private quarters. The confrontation was brief. Griff recognized Sheila instantly. "Carter, I thought you were locked away forever." "Not quite," she said before pulling the trigger. One shot. Center mass. Griff went down without a word. They burned the evidence, wiped the files, made it look like an internal betrayal. By morning, the man who armed Luna was dead, and no one knew who did it, except a few whispers that Sheila Carter was back in business. When the news broke that Griff had been found dead, most of LA didn't mourn. But Steffi did not feel safer. Instead, she felt more exposed, more unsettled, because Sheila had done what the system could not. And in doing so, she had once again stepped into their lives, this time not as a monster, but as a protector. Ridge confronted Sheila outside Deacon's bar a few days later. "You think this makes you a hero? You think killing someone erases everything you've done?" "No," she said. "It doesn't erase it, but it's a start." Hope Logan, caught between the father she loved and the woman she feared, issued a cautious statement. "I don't condone violence, but I do believe in second chances for some people." The ambiguity sparked even more debate. Liam was more direct. "Sheila Carter is dangerous. Always has been, always will be." But the public wasn't so sure anymore. Some began to see Sheila as a necessary evil in a world where the system had failed to protect a child. Online polls shifted. Hashtags trended. Hashtag Sheila the Shield. Hashtag Justice by Fire. Hashtag Redemption or Ruin. And for the first time in decades, Sheila wasn't hiding. She walked the streets of LA openly, attended Hayes' memorial vigil, uninvited, stood silently in the back, a dark silhouette beneath the flickering candles. Steffi saw her and nearly lost control. "You don't get to grieve him," she hissed. "You don't get to stand here." "I'm not here for your forgiveness," Sheila replied. "I'm here because he was part of my family too. And I did what none of you would. I ended it." But Steffi couldn't look at her without seeing blood past and present. "You think you're different than Luna? You're not. You both kill because you can't control anything else." That cut deep. But Sheila didn't respond. Deacon urged her to leave town. "You did what you came to do. Let it go." But Sheila couldn't. Because now she believed she had purpose. She had crossed a line for the right reasons. And in her fractured mind, that made all the difference. As the town remained torn, Sheila stayed close, watching, waiting, and deep in the hills, in the quiet aftermath of violence, a new thought was taking root. If no one else would protect the ones she cared about, she would do it herself. No matter what it took. Even if that meant becoming a villain again. Because this time, Sheila Carter wasn't hunting for chaos. She was hunting for justice. And Los Angeles had no idea what was coming next. It started on an ordinary afternoon. Sunlight streamed into the Malibu house, and Kelly sat in front of the TV, laughing at a cartoon while Liam fixed her a snack in the kitchen. Then, without warning, he stumbled. One hand gripped the counter, the other pressed to his head. Kelly's laughter stopped instantly. "Daddy?" she asked, her voice suddenly small. He turned toward her, eyes glassy, his balance gone. And then he collapsed, face first. Hard. By the time paramedics arrived, Kelly was crying hysterically on the phone with Steffi, who dropped everything and sped home. Liam was rushed to the hospital, unconscious, blood pooling at the corner of his mouth from the fall. When he finally woke, disoriented and struggling to speak, the doctors didn't wait. They ran every scan, every test. What they found stunned even the specialists. A tumor, deep in the frontal lobe. Rare. Aggressive. The kind of growth that didn't just threaten life, but rewired personality. Mood swings, memory gaps, impulsive choices. Everything started to make a kind of haunting sense. The past year, his erratic behavior, his emotional instability, the way he pushed Hope away, then clung to her again, then sabotaged every attempt at peace, it had a cause. And now, with the tumor pressing closer to critical tissue, time was running out. The diagnosis hit Liam hard. He sat in the hospital room for hours after the doctors left, staring at the ceiling, numb. Then, sometime after midnight, as the beeping machines droned around him, a wave of guilt he could no longer suppress rose up and crushed him. He had to tell the truth. The next day, Steffi visited with Kelly. Liam insisted on speaking with Steffi alone, despite her protests. He looked thinner already, older somehow. "There's something you don't know." "About Beth." Steffi stared. "Beth." He nodded. "The first DNA test. After the baby switch. I got a different result. I knew earlier. Before we told Hope. But I didn't say anything." Steffi's mouth dropped. "Are you serious? You knew and you didn't tell her." "I thought I was protecting her. I thought it would destroy her if I told her right away. And then, things just kept happening. I told myself I'd fix it later. That the truth would hurt less if it came after some healing. But it just got worse." Steffi stood slowly. "You let Hope believe her daughter was dead. Longer than she had to." Liam's voice cracked. "Yes." She didn't speak again. She just turned and walked out. But the damage had been done. Steffi told Ridge, who told Brooke, who told Donna, who told Katie. And it only took one overheard conversation for the news to reach Hope. At that moment, Hope was in the Forrester Design studio, laughing with Carter. They had grown closer than anyone expected. After the wreckage with Liam and Thomas, Carter had been a steady, calm force in her life. No games, no obsession, just peace. She had even started thinking, tentatively, about a future with him. Then the call came. Hope didn't want to believe it. She drove straight to the hospital, stormed into Liam's room, and demanded the truth. He didn't deny it. Couldn't. "Yes," he said. "I knew. For almost 2 weeks. I saw the results and I kept it to myself." Hope's knees nearly gave out. "You knew my daughter was alive and you let me think she was dead." "I thought I was helping," he said weakly. "You thought?" she hissed. "You don't get to play God with people's children." "I was scared." She stared at him, cold and hollow. "So was I. Every day. Every night. And you let me suffer because you were scared." Then she turned to leave. Liam tried to stop her, but she pulled her arm away. "I came here to see if you were okay. And now I wish I hadn't." As she walked out, Carter was already in the lobby. He had heard. The hospital walls were thin, and secrets didn't last long in this town. He watched her approach, her face blank, her eyes glassy. "He lied to me," she whispered. Carter reached out, but she pulled back. She wasn't ready for comfort. Not yet. And just like that, the fragile structure of peace that had settled between the Logans, the Spencers, and the Forresters began to crumble. Brooke confronted Liam at the hospital. "You broke her. Again. She will never forgive this." And I don't think she should. Bill Spencer didn't even speak. He just stood by the window in Liam's room, stared down at the parking lot, and said, "You've shamed this family in a way I never thought possible." Katie tried to soften it. "He's sick. He's not thinking clearly." But Donna shook her head. Sick or not, he made a choice. Meanwhile, Carter wrestled with his own storm. He had fallen for Hope. Truly. But he knew what this meant. She would be drawn back into Liam's orbit, into old pain, old love, old lies. He wondered if he had ever stood a real chance. Thomas, freshly back from Paris and unaware of the chaos, came to see Hope the next day. She didn't tell him everything. Just enough. "I thought I was finally safe," she said quietly. "Now I feel like I'm drowning again." Thomas looked at her, torn. "Do you want to be with Carter?" She didn't answer. Because she didn't know. Liam's condition worsened. Surgery was scheduled. The tumor had begun to shift, putting pressure on his optic nerve. He could lose his sight. Or his memory. Or worse. Hope visited once more before the operation. He was alone, sitting up in bed, looking out the window like it might be his last time seeing sunlight. "I don't know what you want from me," she said. "Nothing," he replied. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. And that if I make it through this, I won't try to win you back. I'll just try to be better. For Beth. For Kelly." She didn't cry. She didn't forgive him. But she stayed a few minutes longer. The surgery was long, complicated, risky. When the doctors emerged, they had no easy answers. "He's stable, but we won't know the extent of the damage for days." Hope sat with Beth that night, watching her sleep, remembering the pain she had endured, the nights she screamed into pillows, the mornings she couldn't get out of bed. And now, knowing that part of that suffering could have ended sooner, if Liam had just told the truth, it reopened every wound. Carter came to the house the next morning. "I'm not going anywhere," he told her. "But I might," she said. "I don't know who I am right now. I'll still be here when you figure it out." The scandal didn't fade. Media outlets dug into the past. Talk shows rehashed the baby switch, the hidden paternity, the emotional fallout. Families picked sides. The Forresters distanced themselves from Liam. The Logans rallied around Hope. The Spencers struggled to manage the PR nightmare. And through it all, Liam recovered slowly, speech returning, memory intact but fragile. And yet, with every improvement, he was haunted by what he had done, not just the lie, but the damage it left in its wake. He knew there would be no full redemption. No family reunion. Only the long, slow climb out of the grave he had dug for himself. And Hope, caught between past and future, guilt and clarity, stood at the edge of everything she had ever known, unsure whether to rebuild or walk away from it all. In the aftermath, one thing was certain: nothing in the Logan Spencer Forrester world would ever be the same again.